essentially for me, it felt like the Packers are rebuilding with this draft. Who they selected, where they selected them. Is that what your thoughts is? Is this almost like a draft that was for a team that was rebuilding? Like, did you see a draft and the approach like this coming?
Absolutely not. I think this caught many people off guard, and anybody who's kind of like buying into it or saying like the writing was on the wall. I don't know where you're getting that information. I don't know where you're seeing that. I mean, let's go back to when Matt LaFleur was hired as the head coach of the Green Bay Packers, right? What was the main conversation, the main topic when he first got into Green Bay? Will Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur get along? Will Matt LaFleur be able to control Aaron Rodgers? Their whole relationship was a good portion of the storyline last season. And then they go 13-3, and then they go one win shy from a Super Bowl, and those rumors are completely out the door. You know, no one's even talking about it. All right, there's no sense of let's worry about the future. Is Aaron Rodgers the same quarterback? No, he's not. Is he regressing? I don't think we could even say he's regressing. I mean, there's no way we've seen enough of a regression to say, all right, it's time to panic. You were one win away from playing in a Super Bowl. You won 13 games. There are so many teams in the NFL that would sign up for that any day of the week to go into this draft, which should have been a draft that said, let's add some tools, let's add some pieces so we could compete with the San Francisco 49ers, because quite frankly, last year when we played them twice, it was just completely an utter disaster. Let's add some pieces. Let's get better. Let's retool. Let's give Rodgers what he needs. Let's add some depth. But instead, I mean, I don't even know what you could consider what the Packers did. It just made it so confusing, so mind-boggling. And still, again, we're 4 days removed. I'm still trying to figure out what is the goal here. What is the goal here?
And I'm with you, Joe. Like, it's right. Aaron Rodgers is not at his peak, but he's not. I wouldn't say he's regressing. I thought a lot of, if you want to say struggles or maybe the offense not exploding like we thought, like it would with Aaron Rodgers under center. I mean, I would blame it to the wide receivers he had. I mean, he had Devontae Adams, right? And everyone else. I mean, essentially, me and you could have suited up for the Packers and caught passes last year and be just as good as what they had. So I don't really get it. I mean, are they trying to force Aaron Rodgers out, do you think?
If they're trying to force Aaron Rodgers out, that would be a terrible game plan. There's no reason for it. I mean, I understand the notion of wanting your guy when it comes to the quarterback position, right? You go back into Packers history. Ron Wolf wanted his guy. He got Brett Favre. Ted Thompson wanted his guy and got Aaron Rodgers. And I guess Matt LaFleur, Brian Gutekunst wanted their guy, and they think that Jordan Love is the guy. But my problem with this is there's no signs. We're not seeing anything that you need to worry about a quarterback. Now, if you would have told me that Aaron Rodgers, all right, let's say last season the team doesn't do well, he's struggling in the Matt LaFleur's offense, possibly another injury, his age, all right, you start thinking maybe we need to start thinking for a new quarterback. But you hear Aaron Rodgers talk. He tells you he wants to play into his 40s. Great. He tells you there's going to be, good luck if you draft a rookie quarterback because he's not going to be able to beat me out. I just think this was a complete disservice. You look at the new contract that he signed back in August, right? The earliest he could get out of that contract is at the end of the 2021 season. I mean, is it possible that that is the end for Aaron Rodgers? Yeah. But to start thinking about this right now, I mean, you drafted a quarterback. You traded up for the quarterback. You're not going to see him on the field bearing any injuries for possibly 3, 4, 5 years. I mean, this is 2 years in a row now that the first pick in the first round for the Green Bay Packers is essentially invisible. And that's not how you build a franchise.
Talking with Joe DeLuisio, Sharp Cheddar podcast host, and as you see, very, very diehard Packers fan. Joe, I mean, I'm with you. And I hate the comparisons for Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre, like it was back in 2005, because like you said, Brett Favre basically was flirting with retirement for years even before they drafted Aaron Rodgers, and he fell into their lap. And by that point, again, every offseason, we don't know, is this going to be Brett Favre's last year? Like you said, Aaron Rodgers on the record saying, I want to play into my early 40s. He's 36. So, I mean, we're talking about maybe at least 4 or 5 years that he wants to play, at least on his own volition before he's kind of forced out of the league, let's say. But like you said, that's that timeline it goes longer than Jordan Love's contract. So the Packers aren't going to have Aaron Rodgers basically play out his career in a Packer uniform, basically let Jordan Love, the value of getting a first-round quarterback is you have that 5th year and try to keep it cheap. You're not going to keep him on the bench for 4 or 5 years and then basically get to a second contract and not know what you got in the guy, not to you trade up in the first round. So how long? So you said the earliest they can get out is basically 2021. They have a ton of dead money. I think it's $51 million this year and I think $31 million next year if they were to cut or trade Aaron Rodgers. So you're not going to do it from a money sense. Is 2021, you think, is that the year he's gone?
I mean, that's the only thing that makes sense right now. Again, like you just brought up Jordan Love's contract. I mean, you're going to give a guy a second contract based on what? Only seeing him play in the preseason against, second string backups and third string cornerbacks. I mean, how can you do that? How can you evaluate what you have in Jordan Love? And again, you brought up a good point about Brett Favre talking about retirement. I'll bring up another good point about the whole comparison to, this happened with Aaron Rodgers with Brett Favre. How about the fact that Aaron Rodgers, during that draft, right, he was projected at one point to be the top pick and slip. At no point, and this is not a slight or any disrespect towards Jordan Love. Again, I really hope it all works out, and that's why Brian Gutekunst, that's why Matt LaFleur, they get paid so much money, and I'm just here just rambling and bambling about it. But at no point was Jordan Love ever projected to be the number 1 pick of this draft. He was flirting with outside of the top 10, maybe top 10. But not only to get him at the end of the first round, but to trade up for him, it's hard to wrap your mind around it.
That's the crazy part. Like you said, right. They got lucky in 2005 when he fell to them. It's one of those things where he is so good that we didn't even put him on the board because we didn't think we had a shot. And now it's like we have a guy and a quarterback who we don't know could retire tomorrow. Let's do it. And now at this point, you have the complete opposite situation. You have a questionable quarterback, a wild card, let's say, and Jordan Love, like you said. And you read scouting reports on Jordan Love. It was anything from, like you said, top 10 pick to maybe a second or third round pick. Like people were all over the board with Jordan Love. So definitely not a slam dunk or a consensus. So now I'm questioning too. So you have Aaron Rodgers, already a prickly personality, right? Already a guy that seems, if you don't kind of do what he says, kind of gets, rubbed the wrong way. Now you have him saying he wants to be the guy, whoever they bring in, I'm going to beat out. So if you want to draft a quarterback, basically good luck, but he's not going to be playing for a while. What is the shot, or what is the % chance that Aaron Rodgers mentors Jordan Love or treats him any better than Brett Favre treated Aaron Rodgers, about 15 years ago?
I mean, that's a great question. But at the same time, it's like, what do you expect the guy to do? I mean, if, let's say you basically brought in the guy that's supposed to replace him. I mean, how are you supposed to feel?
I agree.
I think it's also unfair, though. And maybe this is just me reading drinking the Kool-Aid a little too much, Ryan, to say that Rodgers will treat Jordan Love the same way that Favre treated Aaron Rodgers. Okay, and the only reason why I say that is you look at the relationship that Favre and Rodgers have right now, and it's the strongest and the best it's ever been. And I think part of that is growing up and maturing and understanding, how important those years were for Aaron Rodgers. So part of me wants to believe that Aaron Rodgers is going to coach up Jordan Love and, it's going to work out. But the other part of me, if I'm in Aaron Rodgers' shoes, I'm fired up, I'm motivated, and I'm gonna make them pay for this decision. And I'm gonna walk out when I want to walk out. I'm on a high horse, and they're gonna just have to wait and see.
Talking with Joe DeLuisio, Sharp Cheddar, easy for me to say, podcast host on Twitter, Joe_DeLuisio. So Joe, I mean, now the question goes, all right, so I feel like there are two strengths of the team, quarterback and the running game. And their first 2 draft picks, they basically try to pad a strength, but I'm not sure they did it in the right way. Why don't you think, especially their most pressing need for sure was wide receiver, and the deepest wide receiver draft maybe we've ever seen. So there's really no excuse to not even just address the position. 9 picks, plenty of chances, plenty of opportunities to draft an impact guy to pair with Devonta Adams. They didn't do it. Is there any reason as to why you think they didn't do it?
Okay, so I think they set the tone, obviously, with their draft with the first 2 picks.
Right.
So when you get into rounds, first of all, they didn't have a 4th-round pick because they used that to trade up. Again, a big mistake because they could have used it to get a wide receiver. But when you get into rounds 5 through 7 at this point, or even though it's a deep draft, like there's no guarantee with any of these prospects. But can you for sure say that one of the guys or one of the wide receivers that you take in round 5 through 7, or if you take a bunch, can they even compete with the guys that are currently on the roster? And I agree with what you're saying. I don't think the wide receiving core, other than Devontae Adams, is very talented. You're putting a lot of stock on a lot of uncertainty, right? Last year, we were supposed to see a lot more for Geronimo Allison. It was terrible. He's gone. I thought MVS was going to have a bigger year. Other than that game against Oakland where he had 2 big catches, he was suspect. Alan Lazard really stepped it up. Can we see the same from, will he take that next leap? EQ, he didn't play at all. That's a huge question mark. They add Devin Funches, who maybe it could be a resurgence, but you're putting your stock in Devin Funches. So, I understand not forcing it in rounds 5 through 7, but the way you started the draft absolutely dictated not going for a wide receiver. And it just doesn't make sense. If I'm not saying you needed to get a wide receiver in round 1, okay? That you don't want to reach there, but you trade up, you got a guy on the board like Patrick Queen. I mean, that would have been a tremendous get for the Green Bay Packers, even though you have guys like Zadarius, Preston Smith. You just signed Christian Kirksey, which is a huge question mark, but at least you add some depth. You add an impact player that regardless he's going to be on the field. In the second round is where I would have said, all right, here's where I could use my 3rd or my 4th pick, try to move up, and let's get the guy. Let's get a Denzel Mims or someone to, of that stature to try and see if we could bring some talent to the wide receiver depth chart. But it's just so mind-boggling that, again, I struggle trying to find the right word to describe it.
It is, yeah. I mean, they treated the entire draft essentially like a rebuild. Like they went 6-10 or 7-9, trying to restock in a loaded NFC, not the other way around, going 13-3 and trying to add maybe a piece or two. So, like you said, especially the front 7. I mean, they got gashed in the NFC title game, sure. Could have added, a few spots at defensive tackle, defensive line, linebacker. Didn't really do much. So now I'm curious, Joe. We'll finish up with this. So they drafted quarterback of the future. They drafted a running back that maybe will be Aaron Jones' replacement, but his game is not skill. It's not. He doesn't really have a skill set to fit today's NFL. He doesn't really catch the ball to the backfield. He's more of a bruising kind of back. So we'll see how effective he'll be. So now you look at what the Vikings did, basically getting 1 million picks. The Bears basically drafted 400 tight ends, it felt like. And the Lions, I thought, had a pretty good draft. But where would you say, at least maybe in the NFC North or overall in the NFC, coming off the 13-3 year, coming off the number 2 seed overall in the NFC and a deep NFC, where are the Packers now in that landscape?
Well, it's funny you mentioned the Bears drafting their 400th tight end because I couldn't even make a joke that the Bears have 30 tight ends or 400 tight ends because the Green Bay Packers took a quarterback and traded up for him in the first round. So that's besides the point. But I think the Vikings crushed that draft. I could easily see the Vikings taking the North. We just watched San Francisco go to the Super Bowl. San Francisco just got a lot better. I mean, there are a lot of teams in the NFC that I thought got better. I think the Dallas Cowboys took a tremendous step, and you're going to see a huge change in that team under Mike McCarthy compared to what it was with Jason Garrett, as long as, Jerry Jones steps away. I thought the Saints made some solid moves. Like I said, San Francisco, tremendous draft. They got better on both sides of the ball. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of people are questioning what the Eagles did. I think they're, especially with Jalen Hurts in the second round. But I think in terms of skill position and speed that offense has, if Carson Wentz could stay healthy, there's a ton of potential there. The NFC, and by the way, I haven't even mentioned anything about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers who have come out of nowhere.
They're going all in.
I mean, they are going all in. And, I think the Packers will be fighting for a playoff spot come next year. I can't guarantee them going back to the NFC Championship. There's just way too many holes that they didn't fill. And, it's really unfortunate when the window is closing, right? The window is closing. The future is uncertain. And you were one game away last season, and now you're just going to have to wait and see how it plays out.